The night sky over Tel Aviv lit up like a battlefield. Sirens wailed across the city as residents scrambled for shelter, their phones buzzing with emergency alerts. At precisely 2:17 a.m. local time, the first wave of Iranian missiles, reportedly purchased from Russia, pierced the airspace, triggering Israel's Iron Dome defense system. But this time, something was different. The Iron Dome, long hailed as one of the most sophisticated missile interception systems in the world, faltered. Of the 140 missiles launched, a staggering number, nearly 90%, successfully evaded interception, striking strategic and civilian targets across central and southern Israel. The missiles weren't ordinary. Intelligence sources later confirmed that Iran had deployed a mix of conventional ballistic missiles and hypersonic-class Feta-1 warheads, capable of traveling at speeds exceeding 15,000 kilometers per hour. The tactic was chillingly effective. Conventional missiles were launched first, overwhelming the Iron Dome's radar and forcing it to engage. Moments later, the hypersonic missiles followed, slipping through the distracted defense net and detonating with precision. The result was catastrophic. Residential blocks in Bnei Brak, Ashdod, and parts of Jerusalem suffered direct hits. Hospitals reported over 3,200 civilian injuries within hours, with dozens in critical condition. Military analysts were stunned. The Iron Dome, designed to intercept short-range threats with a 90% success rate, had never faced such a coordinated, multi-tiered assault. Israeli officials admitted that the system was not built to counter hypersonic threats, which require faster detection and interception protocols. The attack marked a turning point, not just in the Israel-Iran conflict, but in the global understanding of modern warfare. For the first time, a nation had demonstrated how to systematically dismantle a layered air defense system using deception, speed, and precision. In the hours following the strike, Israel's emergency response teams mobilized with unprecedented urgency. Ambulances raced through shattered streets, dodging debris and collapsed infrastructure. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, declared a nationwide state of alert, deploying reserve units to secure impacted zones and assess damage. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation at dawn, calling the attack a declaration of war and vowing swift retaliation. But behind the political rhetoric, the mood was grim. The scale of destruction had stunned even seasoned military officials. Satellite imagery released by independent analysts showed the precision of the missile impacts. Power stations in Ashkelon and water treatment facilities near Beersheba were among the critical infrastructure hit. Communications networks were disrupted across major cities, and internet outages plagued emergency coordination. The IDF's initial assessment confirmed that the Iron Dome had intercepted only 14 of the 140 incoming missiles. The remaining 126 had either bypassed the system entirely or overwhelmed its capacity. This failure raised urgent questions about Israel's preparedness for next-generation warfare. Meanwhile, international reactions poured in. The United States condemned the attack, reaffirming its support for Israel's right to self-defense. Russia, notably silent, refused to comment on the origin of the missiles, despite mounting evidence of its involvement in supplying the technology. Iran, through state media, celebrated the operation as a strategic victory, claiming it had exposed the vulnerabilities of Western-backed defense systems. The geopolitical implications were immediate. Defense ministries across Europe and Asia began reassessing their own missile defense strategies, recognizing that the age of hypersonic warfare had arrived. For Israeli citizens, however, the concern was not geopolitical, it was personal. Families searched for missing loved ones. Hospitals overflowed, and the once reliable Iron Dome was now a symbol of vulnerability, not protection. As daylight broke over the battered cities, the full scope of the attack came into focus. Emergency crews worked around the clock, clearing rubble and restoring basic services. The Israeli Air Force launched reconnaissance drones to track the origin of the missiles, confirming that many had been fired from mobile launchers deep within Iranian territory. What shocked analysts even more was the Russian fingerprint on the technology. Debris recovered from impact sites revealed advanced guidance systems and propulsion units consistent with Russian military exports, specifically, components used in the Iskander-M and Zircon platforms. This revelation intensified diplomatic tensions. Israeli intelligence briefed NATO allies, warning that the fusion of Iranian aggression with Russian engineering represented a new axis of military threat. Defense experts noted that the missile's flight paths had been programmed to exploit known blind spots in the Iron Dome's radar coverage, a tactic requiring intimate knowledge of Israeli defense architecture. The implication was clear. Either Iran had acquired this intelligence through cyber espionage, or it had received it directly from a foreign power. Inside Israel, public sentiment shifted rapidly. Protests erupted in Haifa and Tel Aviv, demanding accountability from defense officials. Citizens questioned how a system that cost billions and was marketed as impenetrable could fail so spectacularly. Military spokespeople urged patience, citing the unprecedented nature of the attack. But the damage was done, not just physically but psychologically. The Iron Dome had been a symbol of national pride, a technological shield that gave Israelis a sense of security. This failure left a vacuum of trust. In Tehran, celebrations continued. State television aired footage of military commanders praising the operation's success. The narrative was clear. Iran had struck a blow not just against Israel, but against Western military dominance. And the world was watching, recalibrating its assumptions about missile defense in real time. In Washington, the Pentagon convened an emergency summit with defense contractors and intelligence agencies. The goal: to dissect the failure of the Iron Dome and understand how a coordinated missile barrage had rendered it nearly obsolete. Classified briefings revealed that the Iranian missiles had employed decoy warheads and electronic jamming techniques, methods previously seen only in theoretical war games. These decoys confused radar systems, causing the Iron Dome to misallocate interceptors. By the time the real threats arrived, the system was depleted and blind. This revelation sent shockwaves through the defense community. For years, the Iron Dome had been the gold standard in missile defense, a model replicated and studied by allies worldwide. Now, its vulnerability was exposed. Defense experts warned that similar systems in South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and parts of Eastern Europe could be equally susceptible. The implications were staggering. Billions spent on missile defense infrastructure might no longer guarantee protection against modern threats. Back in Israel, the government faced mounting pressure. Opposition leaders demanded a full inquiry into the Iron Dome's failure, while citizens flooded social media with footage of the explosions and pleas for international support. The psychological toll was immense. Schools were closed indefinitely, and shelters remained active across the country. For many Israelis, the attack felt like a betrayal, not just by their defense systems, but by the global powers that had promised security. Iran, meanwhile, doubled down on its messaging. State media released footage of missile engineers and military strategists detailing the operation's success. The tone was triumphant, calculated to project strength and technological superiority. And while Israel began mobilizing its retaliation strategy, the world watched with bated breath, knowing that the next phase of this conflict could redefine the balance of power in the Middle East. Retaliation came swiftly. Within 48 hours of the missile strike, Israel launched a series of precision air raids targeting Iranian military installations in Syria and western Iraq. The IDF released footage of bunker-busting bombs penetrating underground facilities believed to house missile stockpiles and command centers. The message was clear: Israel would not remain passive. But even as jets roared across the skies, the deeper concern lingered. Had the balance of deterrence shifted permanently? Global powers scrambled to respond. The United Nations convened an emergency session, with delegates from over 60 countries demanding de-escalation. Yet behind closed doors, military planners were already revising doctrines. The attack had proven that hypersonic and multi-vector missile strategies could cripple even the most advanced defense systems. Defense contractors in the US, France, and India accelerated development of next-gen interceptors capable of reacting within milliseconds. The race to adapt had begun. In Israel, recovery efforts continued. Temporary shelters became semi-permanent homes for thousands displaced by the blasts. Psychological trauma surged, with mental health clinics reporting record numbers of patients suffering from shock and anxiety. The Iron Dome was undergoing rapid upgrades, but trust would take longer to rebuild. Citizens demanded transparency, accountability, and assurance that such a breach would never happen again. Iran, emboldened by its success, hinted at further operations. Its foreign ministry issued statements warning that any aggression will be met with greater force. The rhetoric was chilling, but the strategic calculus had changed. Israel, once confident in its technological edge, now faced a new era of vulnerability. And as the dust settled over the region, one truth remained. The age of missile warfare had evolved, and with it, the rules of engagement. What happened on that night would echo through military doctrines for years to come.